Hey, welcome back to Zach of All Trades. I'm Zach, and today I'd like to introduce you to a new segment that I'm going to do around here, the YouTube Projects Bin. What? The YouTube Projects Bin. And since I'm introducing new things, I figured I might as well go ahead and introduce you to my new YouTube studio. Ta-da! Yeah, I know. It needs some decoration, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. Now on to the project. So because of how and where we live, I pretty often wind up with a pile of stuff that's broken enough that you can't use it, but not something that I'm just gonna run right out and spend the money on replacing. Such is the case with today's project. And so this stuff winds up in a pile, in a disheveled mess, somewhere either just inside the front door or near my spot at the dinner table or whatever. So I figured I'd take all of that stuff, the stuff that's waiting for me to fix it, and make a feature out of that. So that's what's in the broken stuff bin, or the YouTube projects bin. So for today's project, we have here ye old 30-pound capacity automatic chicken feeder, which is about 25 bucks to replace. Not something that's exactly going to break the bank, but if I can save 25 bucks on it rather than spending 25 bucks, hey, that's a delta of about 50 bucks from top to bottom, right? And the other thing about it is, well, town is about an hour away. We don't have any planned trip to town for the next, I don't know, for a number of days. So we said throwing chicken feed out on the ground for the chickens to scratch at and tromp into the dirt and all that, rather than being able to pick fairly cleanly out of this feeder. I almost didn't do a video on this, but my favorite advisor suggested maybe there might be somebody out there that could use this. So here goes. The problem here is the fact that the little doohickey, there's these little spring-loaded jobbies, and the one over here, well, it has come loose. Why did it come loose? The thing is, all it's held in there by is just this little tab that's riveted on from the bottom. And that rivet seems to have pulled through the top. Now, it's a pretty easy fix. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bolt through there and run it through from the bottom. But the first thing that you got to do in order to do that is you're going to have to get the rivet out. And there's a special way to get the rivet out that makes it pretty easy to do. Let me show you. Here we have the cross section of a bucked rivet. These two layers right here represent the two layers of metal that are being held together by said rivet. Now when that rivet gets pushed in, it gets pushed through the hole and smashed from the other side, which deforms the bottom of it. That's called the bucktail. It widens it out, and that holds the whole thing together. Now the best way that I know of to get this rivet out of here is we're going to drill a hole that's going to go down into there, just a little bit smaller than what the rivet is. And once we do that, then that head will pop right off of there, and that rivet will come out through the bottom. Let's see if I can make it work like that. All right, first things first, I'm going to check and make sure that I'm on the right rivet head, which is going to be this one. I'm going to go ahead and center punch it, which will keep my drill bit right where I want it when I go to start drilling. I'm going to use this fairly small drill bit to start with. And off we go. Now, do you see that happen right there? When I got just deep enough, actually it popped loose. Let's see if it's spinning the whole thing. I guess it's just spinning the whole rivet. So I'm going to have to hold that guy still. Try anyway. I can do this so you can see it. Let's see how this works. There. And that just went all the way through it. I'm going to take my drill bit out, stick the back end of it in there, and it will pop the head of that rivet right off of there. And then just going to tap it on through. Nope, not with my drill bit. I do it with my punch. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Now the rivet is out. See the hole on the other side? So far so good. Now let me see if I've got the right hardware to fit in my pocket. Lost in my pocket. There it is. Alright, let me see if that will fit. And if not, since this is just the right little bolt for this, I'm going to drill it and make it fit. Oh, it's so close. So, go to the next size of drill bit here. I'm going to embiggen this hole just briefly. Doesn't take much. And I'm going to embiggen the other side of it as well. That's going to be a little tricky to do. Okay, now let's see if it'll fit. Well, it's just big enough that it is going to screw through there. Goes nicely into there. And why I have a whole bunch of square nuts, I have no idea, but I do. Alright, so now we see that that all fits. The next thing we've got to try to do is get this thing with its springama thing in the right position and held in there. Okay, I see what I got to do. I'm going to take that bolt out of there. Now that we've done our test fit, I'm going to put this guy back in here underneath. Oh, this is the trick part right here. I got to do that without poking my finger. Ow! Push it down. And then we'll just persuade it over there. There we go. Screw that bolt back into there. Now let's see if it's gonna, oh yeah, got plenty of spring, just like the others. Alright, now we got one last thing to do before we call this licked. I'm gonna put a little bit of Wet n Wild on the end of that screw. What do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about? Wet n Wild. Tell you about Wet n Wild in a minute. Here we go on here. Screw that down nice and tight. Okay, so between the Wet n Wild and this move, deform the threads on the end of there. See if I can get you in to see that. There we go. Deforming those threads will ensure that that nut never comes off of there. Even if it gets loose, it won't come all the way off. That way my chickens won't eat it, because they would, right? Now let me tell you about Wet n Wild. In my day job, I'm an airplane mechanic. I work for a fella, mid-70s, who's been working on airplanes for a long time. I also have been working on airplanes for a long time, but in a different realm. I grew up working on airplanes in the military, big stuff. He's worked on Cessnas and Bonanzas and general aviation type of aircraft for a long time. You would think that there are a lot of similarities between the two worlds, and there really are. But there are also many differences. Stuff that I'm learning in the GA world that I had not the foggiest idea about when I was working on bigger stuff. So case in point, when I very first started working for him, at one point we had tightened down some bolts or nuts or whatever it was, and he says to me, "Hey, go grab the Wet n Wild and we'll finish this up." I said, "Do what?" He said, "Go get the Wet n Wild. It's over there on the toolbox." I must have looked at him like he had lobsters coming out of his ears, because I had no earthly idea just what this man was asking me to do. So he finally says the fingernail polish over there on the toolbox. Wet n Wild evidently is the cheap off the shelf brand of fingernail polish that you could get, that you can use as what we might have called in the military torque stripe, right? Something to give evidence that you've actually torqued that bolt or nut. So it actually, between the composition of it, just the fact that it's fingernail polish, it kind of sticks. It helps to hold the nut on there, and it also shows that you've done it. And somewhat later, my wife came home with this, the actual brand name Wet n Wild, that now lives in my Working on Airplanes toolbox. So that's it. Oh, this thing is now perfectly fixed. It goes back together just the way that it's supposed to go back together. I guess maybe I could show that to you. There you go. There she is, good as new, for a little bit of effort and a little bit of storytelling. And that's it for today. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Take care.